Before heading to the video, if you haven't subscribed the channel, do subscribe it and don't forget to click the bell icon for the latest update notification. If you like the video, do like, comment and share. Stay tuned with learnbay.co. Happy learning!
Okay, so let's start with the model performance matrices, and this is easier thing. So this is these model evaluation techniques are basically used to we are using them for just for evaluating of how good our model is, how our model is performing. So there are various types of model evaluation techniques are available, like error matrix, Gini coefficient, area under the curve, KS chart, lift chart. So lot of things are there, but we will be studying which will be used into the analytics industry and extensively. So let's see what all are the model evaluation techniques available with us. Okay, so first one is basically confusion matrix. So confusion matrix is nothing but it tells you about the accuracy of your model. So how many times your model has predicted target 1 as 1. Okay, and how many times your model has predicted 0 as 0 is called as accuracy. True predictions, 1 as 1 and 0 as 0. So basically this is also called as true positives and true negatives. So now when 1 is predicted as 0, that is a false positive. When 0 is predicted as 1, it is a false negative. So when you want to calculate the accuracy of any model, so you have to do TP plus TN divided by TP plus TN plus FP plus FN into 100. So basically total number of correct predictions divided by total number of predictions into 100 will give you the percentage accuracy. So that is called as our confusion matrix. Confusion matrix is basically giving you the idea how many times your model is predicting 1 as 1, 0 as 0, 1 as 0, 0 as 1. Okay, so any question for confusion matrix, because this is all is confusion matrix about.
Yeah, Utkarsh, Surendra here.
Yes, Surendra.
Yeah, is it same like type 1 and type 2 errors?
Yes. So basically, when you are predicting, actually it is 1, but you have predicted it as a 0. So type 1 error. Actually it is 0, but you have predicted it as a 1. It is a type 2 error. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So, and these two are correct decisions, TP and TN. So remember, sometimes into an interview, they ask what is true positive versus what is false negative, what is false positive. So you have to remember this table. True positive is basically 1 has been predicted as 1. True negative is 0 as predicted as 0. False positive is 1 as predicted as 0. And false negative is 0 as predicted 1. So that is a confusion matrix. Now confusion matrix will help you to understand your model accuracy. So very important matrix. So we will see into the code how to plot it. Now another important metric is area under the curve. Okay. So basically area under the curve is also known as AUC. So before we discuss about AUC, so AUC is a curve. This curve will give you the idea about false positive rate and true positive rate. So now what is false positive, guys?
Where the value is false, but we have predicted.
So where the value is false, no. Where the value is positive, but you have predicted as 0. So that is false positive. Actually, it is 1, but you have predicted as 0.
I have got one question, Girish
Yes.
this side. So if the outputs of the model are more than 1 0, I mean it is like 1 2 3, or we have to classify into 1
So
2 3.
it will be keep on extending, then true positive, true negative, and one more column will be keep on adding. That example I will show you when we will go into that algorithm. So yes, so what is false positive? When you are predicting 1 as 0. So false positive is a wrong prediction. True positive is when you are predicting 1 as a 1. So basically area under the curve will talk about how your model is predicting false positive rate and true positive rate. So basically I'll just give you one idea. Area under the curve is very important thing to understand. Okay. So when we will talk about area under the curve, so area under the curve is basically this is our TPR and this is our FPR. So this is one graph And this is again TPR, and this is again FPR. So this is another graph, and one more graph I'm plotting. TPR, FPR. Now, in which graph TPR rate is high?
Third one.
Last one.
Last one. And in which graph FPR rate is high?
First one.
First one. So this graph reading you are able to understand. So now tell me which graph is better, first, second, or third?
Third, second. Second.
Anybody else?
Depends.
What, as per your learning and understanding, what do you think? Which graph will be better, first, second, or third?
Third.
Okay.
Third one.
I'll go with Abhilash. And who told third?
Prakash, yeah.
Prakash told third. Girish told second.
I said depends.
Utkarsh, even I will go with third one.
Okay, Surendra told third one. Yes, other people, what are your opinion? Which graph is better?
So it's Rushang, the second one,
Yes.
and depends too.
Okay, Rushang. And
Daniel.
yes, Daniel.
Yeah, for the second one.
Daniel will go into second one. Okay. Other people?
Rahul, third one.
Rahul is saying third one. Okay.
Second one.
Who is this?
Anirudh.
Anirudh is saying second one. Okay, good competition. Okay. Other people? Yes. Gayatri, Harsh, Rushang, Rai. Okay, Rushang has already told. Okay, so guys who told FPR, this second graph, Girish, Rushang, Daniel, Anirudh, why do you think that this graph is better than the third one?
Because it is well balanced between TPR and FPR.
So
Yeah,
when
if we find an average over here.
see, when I'm creating a model, what is my target? My accuracy should be more or less?
More.
More.
Where you are
Balanced.
getting the highest accuracy?
Balanced accuracy.
Third one.
Objective.
Third.
So third one is giving you the highest accuracy, right? So
Yeah.
first of all, I'll just clear this doubt. Third is the correct answer. Okay. Second is not the correct answer. First, I think everybody's understood that first is definitely not a correct answer. So basically, area under the curve is a curve between TPR and FPR. So basically, this curve talks about the model performance. Okay. Now, I will definitely go with the model where the TPR rate will be high. So can I say here probably area under the curve is 10%, here it is 50%, and can I say here it is almost around 95%? Agree?
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah.
So wherever AUC value will be highest, that will be your best model. Okay. Now, what is the difference between confusion matrix and area under the curve? This we need to understand now. So, lot of concepts you will understand now. So now there are two things, confusion matrix and AUC. Okay, so what is confusion matrix? What is confusion matrix, guys?
Matrix between
The-
predicted and actual values.
So basically, total number of correct predictions, which is correct. Whatever you told is correct. I am just writing into another sentence. Okay, total number of correct predictions. So what does it mean? Correct predictions. 0 should be predicted as 0. 1 should be predicted as 1. Agree?
Yes.
Yes.
Now percentage accuracy, if I want to calculate, then how I can calculate? Basically your diagonal is true positive plus true negative divided by true positive plus true negative plus false negative plus false positive into 100 will give me accuracy. 80% or 90%, whatever is the accuracy will come to you. Okay, so So for these are the 2 points about confusion matrix. Now let's talk about area under the curve. So what is area under the curve?
Defining the TPR and FPR.
So can I say it is a graph between TPR versus FPR?
Yes.
Yes.
Now I'll tell you what is TPR. True positive rate is 1 is predicted as 1. Okay, and false positive rate is 0 or sorry, 1 has been predicted wrongly. Okay, now area under the curve doesn't care about zeros. It only care about target variable 1. It only always tells you 1 has been predicted as 1 and this particular rate. So how many times, what happens, basically your prediction was 1 and actually it was 1, and how many time it was predicted as 1 but actually it was 0. Okay, so basically it is 0 but predicted as actually it is 1 but predicted as 0, actually it is 1 and predicted as also 1. Now it talks about 1. So now let's discuss this concept, why this particular matrix. So confusion matrix is straightforward, it is clear to us. Total number of correct predictions, 0 as 0, 1 as 1, but area under the curve only talks about 1 has been predicted as 1. So how many times my model is able to predict 1 as 1? Now I'll tell you one story and listen this story and let's try to visualize. Now what happens, guys, especially into health domain, okay, this area under the curve is very important. Now what happens, suppose do you know about this IBM Watson? Anyhow, have you heard of this term, IBM Watson and all?
Yes.
Yes. So now what happens, this Institute of Tata Cancer Research Institute in Mumbai. So what they have done, they have bought this particular IBM Watson, where this IBM Watson will collect your data and it will tell you that you are having a cancer or not. Okay. So a patient is having a disease or not. Now what is happening? Suppose my model training I have done for that particular data, that a particular person who is having the cancer will be having these kind of features associated with that, and the person who is normal human being will be having these kind of features associated with that. And we know there will be always some misclassification happens. Okay. Now what happens? Suppose one customer came, one patient came, and this particular patient is having is not having any cancer. He's a normal human being. But what happened? My model has predicted wrongly and he told you have cancer. Now what will happen? This particular person will go, he will do the test and he will take the test and generate test reports and everything. And finally he will get to know, okay, I don't have any cancer, and he will go happily and he will live his life. Now let's take, so in this case what happens? Actually this person is not having cancer but model has detected as 1. This case I don't worry about. Now what happens? Another person came. Now this particular person is having actually cancer. Now what happens? When the model has done the prediction, model told no, you don't have cancer. Okay. Now what will happen? This particular person will go happily to his house and after 1 or 1.5 months he will die. So now actually your person was having positive, but what happens? Model told no, 0. So now in some of the applications, predicting 1 as 1. So if somebody is having disease, has to be predicted as disease. Some domains, it is very much important. So that is why prediction of 1 as a 1 is important in many of the domains, especially into health domain. So suppose if you will talk about retail domain or marketing domain or bank domains, for example, our credit card example, it's okay if somebody is basically might be taking the credit card, but my model has predicted he will not take. So it is fine. It is not a life and death situation. I am okay with that. But in a health domain, if somebody is having diabetes or some disease and my model is saying you don't have disease, and this guy will go happily and after some time he will die. So industry wise, this area under the curve matrix is important. So sometimes people will ask you specifically to improve this particular thing, one prediction of 1 as 1. So this is the difference between confusion matrix and area under the curve. Confusion matrix talks about total number of correct predictions. Zeros has been predicted zeros, and how many times 1 has been predicted as 1. Area under the curve talks about only how many times 1 has been predicted as 1, which is called as true positive rate. Questions? Any questions?
Uh,
Hmm.
Utkarsh Prakash here.
Yes.
Apart from healthcare industry, is there any other domain using AOC?
See, sometimes what happens in bank domain also they will tell you. Sometimes when we do fraud detection and all that, there also they tell you to achieve area under the curve should be better. So basically, confusion matrix talks about accuracy of your model, and area under the curve talks about the performance of your model. So performance is nothing but how good your model is in segregating ones as ones and zeros as zeros. Confusion matrix is how your model is able to predict zeros as zeros and one as one. Okay, so one is accuracy, one is performance metric. So interview question, this is an interview question. What is the difference between confusion matrix and area under the curve? Sometimes people ask this question in this way: which one is more important for you, model accuracy or model performance? So which one is more important for you guys after this discussion, model accuracy or model performance? Suppose my accuracy of model is 90%, area under the curve is 60%. Another case is accuracy is suppose 60%, area under the curve is 90%. Which model is better? Which one you will be going to choose? Model 1 or model 2?
Model 2.
Model
Again,
2.
again, it depends, but for medical or healthcare domain, you
Who
can
is
go
this?
for
Who is telling again it depends?
Girish.
Okay. So Girish is saying correct. So yes, it depends. Now what happens? Suppose if I'm working into health domain, I will be going with the second model. Okay, because there I'm worried more about one as a prediction as a one. But if suppose if I'm working into retail domain, banking domain, so there zero also matters for me, right? If you are giving a credit card to a person, so I want to identify who are the people who will not take credit card, right or wrong, right? Zeros are also important there. So in that case, I will go with the first model. So Girish, whatever you are saying is correct, but not always you have to say that it is depend, because in previous thing you told again it depends. So if you have a proper reasoning, then you say that. So, and you cannot leave the answer just by saying, okay, it depends. You have to tell why it depends on that thing. So you have to justify the reasons as well. But correct answer. Yes, Abhilash.
Surendra here.
I'll take one question from Abhilash, then I'll come to you, Surendra. Yes, Abhilash.
Yeah.
Yeah, these results are for both the training data and test data, right?
Area under the curve we always plot for testing data.
Okay.
Okay.
Fine. Okay.
Yes, Surendra.
Yeah, sorry, Utkarsh, as in previous example where you stated this, regarding this health domain, where the person is is not having cancer, but the model predicted that you have a cancer, right?
Yes. Yes.
So in that case, why can't we frame in a sentence like there is 95% chance that you might get, like you have cancer qualities, and like we can predict in that way, right? Rather than going by 0 or 1.
So you target variable will be what? So your target will be cancer or no cancer, right?
Yes.
On the basis of features. So your machine learning model, they never understand these strings. They never understand number of bathrooms, number of bedrooms, salary and experience. You have to always convert it into 0 and 1.
Yes, it takes only numerical data for
It always takes numerical data. So you, whenever you are getting any target variable in this form, so when you will see your capstone project, so in that capstone project, your target variable is into the format of yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. You have to convert it into 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. How you can convert it into 0, 1, 0, 1?
by using
Dummy
dictionary or
variables,
mapping.
I mean pandas.
It's simple. You can write one if condition. If it is cancer, then equal to 0. If it is no cancer, then equal to replace it with 1, right? So that is one way, simplest way. Second way is dummy variable encoding, what you are saying. There is one more way which I'll discuss. I want to discuss now only because otherwise I'll forget. So now how to do this variable encoding? Okay. So suppose target variable is, for example, is like that, or any feature. Let's not talk about only target. Suppose gender you have. So suppose you have gender male, female, male, female. So how you will do the encoding? Simple encoding will be 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1 kind of encoding will happen. So you directly can do it via the if condition. There is a map function which can help you. There is a dummy variable encoding which can which you can do. Now suppose I have something called as occupation. So salaried, non-salaried, government employee, private employee. Now there is one more encoding method available which is called as one hot encoding. Okay, this is a important methodology. Lot of algorithms use this. So interview question also. They will ask you what is one hot encoding or how many methods for encoding you know. So this method you have to always explain. Now what happens into one hot encoding case? It will split these unique values into multiple values. So it will become in the salary, occupation underscore salary, occupation underscore non-salaried, occupation underscore government, occupation underscore private. Okay, now what will happen? 1 1 1 1 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0. So this is called as one hot encoding. This is your customer 1, this is your customer 2, this is your customer 3, this is your customer 4. And then further there will be remaining features connected. So for example, gender column. So gender column anyway 0 1 0 1 you have converted already. So this is how your model understand the numbers. So this is called as one hot encoding. Similarly, we have something called as something. Yes.
Can you please repeat again? Actually, my connection was unstable, so I missed that.
Okay, okay, I will repeat it. So basically what happens, one hot encoding is nothing but one hot encoding when you are having more than 2 variables available into a column: salary, non-salaried, government, private. So what will one hot encoding do into the memory? It will generate 4 new columns: occupation underscore salary, occupation underscore non-salaried, occupation underscore government, occupation underscore private. Now whichever customer, suppose customer 1 is salaried, so then here you will write 1, all other places 0. Customer 2 is non-salaried, so here it will be 1, all remaining places will be 0, and so on. So that is called as one hot encoding.
I've got one question again.
Yes.
For actually one hot encoding, there is one less column. Actually, for all the zeros, it also includes one feature. Which means, for 4 zeros is also one feature, right?
Where are 4 zeros?
We can have that feature as well.
How? Can you give me an example?
Like we have put 1 1 1 everywhere. 1 and 3 zeros is for.
Okay. So you are talking that I have one customer who is salaried, who is also non-salaried, who is also government employee, who is also private employee. This you are saying. Then in that case, it will become 1 1 1 1. This is what you are saying. So this condition will never arrive. So can Daniel will be the salaried person also, non-salaried person also, government employee also, private employee also? Is it possible?
No, actually I was talking all are zeros because maybe there is another field for occupation like salary, non-salary, government, private. We have written 4. We can have a 5th one, somewhat like that.
Suppose others.
For example, others. For others, it is.
So here it will come occupation is equal to others, and this will become now 1. All remaining will be 0.
There is no need for another one actually because all 4 zeros encode for that others.
By whenever any person or customer will come, he will be having either of the value available: salaried, non-salaried, private, or that, right?
Right.
So then how your condition will be coming true that all will be 1 or all will be zeros? Either you give me an example that this is how it will be, all will be zeros. In any case, you will be always having a unique value associated with the customer, right? So is it possible that gender can be both male and female? Not possible. Suppose gender is transgender, then it will be a new field. You will not write 0 and 1 here together, right? So that is what. So both the values for a single customer is not possible. If there is some third new value is coming, that will become a new unique value. That is what one hot encoding does. So yes, anybody else is having any questions for one hot encoding?
Okay, Utkarsh, I have a question. If there are more unique values like 11, 12 unique values, then we will increase the columns, right?
So this is the problem with the one hot encoding. One hot encoding will eat up your memory.
Yeah.
Because
So
what is happening, you are keep on acquiring
also increase
more
the
and more.
dimensionality too, right?
It will increase the number of dimensions. It will eat up your memory and space. So when you are explaining one hot encoding, you can also tell like, okay, until and unless it is possible. For gender column also, I can do the one hot encoding. For gender column, what will happen? It will generate a table like this. Okay, gender is equal to male, gender is equal to female. So 1 1 0 0. But what happens? It will increase the dimension. But if you will use simple a map function, it will just simply do 1 0 1 0 into a same column only. So that is a problem with the one hot encoding. It eat up the space. It creates more dimensions. So until and unless it is possible to avoid one hot encoding, you should avoid.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. If you cannot avoid, then use it. Okay, but it is an interview question. What are the encoding methods you know? So this is one of the encoding method, one hot encoding, also called as dummy variable encoding. So remember. So now, first of all, tell me, area under the curve is clear to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. Can you repeat the definition of TPR? Okay. So okay, let's discuss one more time, because see, these concepts will remain uniform across all the algorithms, classification algorithms. Okay, what is TPR, guys?
True positive rate.
Okay, and how you will explain it into a layman terms?
If the target is 1 and our prediction is 1, then it is true positive.
Yes. So actual value is 1 of target variable and predicted is also 1. This is called as true positive rate. Okay, and 1 has been predicted as 1 and 0 has been predicted as 0. And what is this? This is comes under accuracy, total. Okay, so TPR is basically how many times your model is able to predict 1 as 1 out of total number of ones predicted. So total number of ones are, suppose you are having this data and this is 1 1 0 1. So what happens? How many times your model is able to predict total number of ones correctly? So 1 2 3 4. So 4 by 5. So total number of ones are 5, and how many times your model is able to predict correctly? 4 by 5 into 100 will give you the area under the curve. Okay, 90% of the time my model is able to predict correctly. So that is called as true positive rate, or TPR. Clear? Which we represent via the area under the curve also. Now, a few more additional definitions with respect to area under the curve. So basically our confusion matrix, this confusion matrix, I am representing as A, B, C, D. So this true positive, false negative, and true negative, I am plotting it as a A, B, C, D. So your target is yes and predicted as yes, target is 0, predicted as 0, and A, B, C, D I am representing. So there is one thing called as sensitivity. So sensitivity is nothing but true positive rate is equal to true positive divided by total positive is equal to A divided by A plus B. So A divided by A plus B will give you the true positive rate. So another name for true positive rate is TPR, and one more name for TPR is sensitivity. Okay, one more name for sensitivity is recall. So sensitivity, all these things you have to remember now. Different interviewers will ask with different formation. So it is called as TPR or sensitivity. Okay, how your model is sensitive towards predicting 1, and also called as recall. All these things are how many times your model is able to predict correctly 1 as a 1. Okay, also called as true positive rate. Okay, so remember this, same name for all these things. Okay, so So this is a graphical representation. Now if you want to see the number, what is the number for your one has been predicted as 180%, 90%. So simply sensitivity or recall or true positive rate can give you via this formula, and these formulas are directly implemented into your decision tree in one shot, where you can directly get these values in one go. Another definition is specificity. True negative divided by total negative. So basically this is specificity is nothing opposite of sensitivity, how good your model is identifying zeros as zeros. Okay, so basically zeros as zero, we don't care much about that, but sensitivity or recall is the most important thing. So one is one as one and another one is specificity. Zero as zero, one is into numerical form, one is into the visualization forms, which I will be showing you into the codes. So this is all about decision tree here. So any questions now with respect to the discussion we have done today or tomorrow, yesterday or day before yesterday?
My question remains the same, because if we have more than two variables, 1, 0, like 1, 2, 3, so all this discussion remains invalid.
Why you think it will remain invalid?
For sensitivity or area under the curve or anything, we are talking about just 1 and 0. But if we have more than two outputs like 1, 2, 3, so every definition will change.
Okay, let's take 4 output. 0, 1, 2, 3. 0, 1, 2, 3. Now this is a confusion matrix for more than 2 outputs. Now, how many times 0 has been predicted as 0? 43. 1 has been predicted as 1, 60. 2 has been predicted as 2, 20. 3 has been predicted as 3, 11. And 21, 20, 42, 0, 0, 21, 30, 80, 69, 110, 20, 31. Now, how you will calculate here accuracy? How you will calculate, Girish?
Accuracy would be specific to some number for 2 or for 3. Maybe.
Don't you calculate for like this accuracy for more than 2 variables?
Yes, for accuracy it is fine, but for area under the curve we were talking about 1.
Yes.
So now we have to talk about 2 or 3.
So 1 is always will be the positive cases. So that is what I told you. Why you are discussing about 0, 2 and 3? I clearly told you area under the curve only talks about 1 as 1. We don't care about 0s, 2s, 3s, 4s and 5s. It's always about 1. Right?
So if we have a, okay, right.
I never told you anywhere that zeros we are caring about or 2 or 3. I always told you 1 has been predicted as 1. That's all. Now, let me take one example. So for example, you have something target variable, for example, yes, no, maybe. Okay, yes, no, maybe. When you will do encoding, you will do 1, 0 and some encoding, one hot encoding probably you will do, or suppose 1, 0, 2. So I only care about this particular thing. I don't care about these two in area under the curve. And your accuracy matrix will cover all of these. Right? So that is area under the curve and accuracy difference.
So we cannot have 2, 3, 4 in place of 1, 0, 2.
No. Okay, so you have to do the mapping in that way. So now I'll just take you through the walkthrough through the decision tree code. So I hope you remember all the decision tree theory which we have discussed till now. Now code part is very easy, not lot of things you have to do. This is the same code you have to run throughout your life with changing different data. You have to understand the concepts. So basically see pandas, numpy. So pre-processing is a library where you have this dummy variable encoder available. So pre-processing is a library where you can take this data which can convert the categorical data into numerical format automatically. You don't have to do anything. Train test split is basically why we use train test split.
For training and testing,
for splitting training and testing data. So train test split will do the random sampling and it will generate 80 and 20% data for you. We will see how it generates. Decision tree classifier, which is available into your sklearn, so don't discuss about this. So confusion matrix, again available into your sklearn library. Accuracy score, so confusion matrix will generate a matrix like this. Okay, so confusion matrix will give you a matrix like this: 0 as 0, 1 as 1, and score will directly give you the accuracy, for example 89%. So that internally it calculate via this total TPFP plus all these. So directly it calculate score and it will show you. So both of the functions are available. Now you see the great thing here, you are not doing any calculation, each and everything is already inbuilt and available for you. This is SVM, so SVM don't talk about. So this is SVM algorithm, we don't need it. Then ROC curve or AUC curve. So area under the curve, again available directly inbuilt. Matplotlib, string IO, this is for string function, image, GraphViz library. So GraphViz library is basically for generating the tree kind of graph. Now, what I will do, I will show you the data set. So what kind of data set we will be going to use. So I have this data set available. Okay. So in this data set, if you will see, you have columns age, job, marital status, married or not married, single, divorced, married, education. Now you have something called as this parameter default. So no or yes. So basically what is happening here, this is a bank which is having some sort of data available where what they want to find out that for your next month or next to next month, what is the probability that you will be defaulting on your home loan EMI or you will be able to give your home loan EMI. So what they have done, they have taken a past data and they have generated this Excel sheet where default is no or yes. So you will be going to default or you will not be going to default. So that they want to predict about the new customers from this past data. So they have all these features available: duration, P outcome, and deposit. So deposit means you have deposited in the past or not deposited on time. So you have these different variables available. Now you have to do some ED and you have to remove these variables like P outcome. So most of the value into P outcome column is unknown. So I will drop this column. So you have to find out by doing some sort of analysis that which particular columns you will be going to use and which particular columns you will be going to remove. Now I will give you the skeleton structure for this code. You guys have to improve the accuracy via doing different kind of exploratory data analysis and different kind of hit and try, which we will discuss later at the last of the code, what you have to do. Now I am reading this data, bank.csv, and what I am doing, I am just directly capturing it into the temp variable, and temp variable I am just plotting what all this will show you what all columns are available into your data. df.head will show you a glimpse of your data set, how your data looks like. So simple things. Now data pre-processing. Now what I am doing, I am taking all the columns: job, marital, education, default, housing, month, all these columns which are basically categorical in nature. Now in pre-processing library, I have something available called as label encoder function. Now this label encoder function, I am calling it as a LE object. Now LE.fit underscore transform this underscore df of column job. So basically it will convert this particular column into, in this particular data frame, into the numerical format. So this same thing will happening for all the, you have to do for all the categorical variables. So it will automatically take care of all this internally, how to do the encoding and all that you don't have to worry about.
So
okay.
By default, it will create a 0 1s, 0 1s, 0 1s, like 0
yes,
1 2
yes.
3.
So internally it will take care of type of encoding, 1 hot it has to do or 0 1 it has to do as per the unique values. For male column it will do 0 1 0 1. For different columns it will decide it has to do. So it is intelligent, automated. You don't have to worry about that encoding. But you have to explain what is happening.
And can we
yes,
pass in the
what you are
label
asking?
encoder in the label encoder method, can we pass any additional parameters for something?
No, if you don't have to pass, but suppose if you want to create your own labels, then you have to write your own function, if and else condition, what I told you. Okay, this is already predefined internally, so here you cannot do any touching and all changing. Now once you have done the encoded, so this data I am collecting into the encoded underscore df. So now your data frame will be available, which will be encoded into the nature, so you can print this data frame and you can see the difference between this and below. Now all these numbers will come into a different format, so this you can do it at home. Now can you explain me these two lines, what I'm happening into these two lines, x and y?
We are dropping the deposit column from our encoded data frame.
Perfect. And in y, what we are doing?
We are y, it is like a target variable setting.
Yes. So what I'm doing, I'm calculating. Just give me 1 minute, guys. One office call is coming. 1 minute. Yes, guys. So now in x and y, what we are doing basically, you are segregating features and target variable. So what you are doing in a way, when I will say, you are segregating the data from your data frame into these things. So x1, x2, x3, x4, and so on, and y variable. So you are saying this is as all of these data frames as x, and this is simple y. So this is basically target, and this is your independent features. Okay, or it is also called as features or dimensions. Okay, or columns. A lot of names are there. So we are segregating. So we will be telling. So this is how your model will understand. Okay, these are the features and this is the target. So I have to consider this as a target variable. Now let's go to another step. Now split. Yes.
Just a simple question. In cell number 64, can you please explain me in the cell number 64 what is happening here? Like what a lead dot fit transform to?
Fit transform will convert. Suppose you have a gender column. Okay, male, female, male, female. Fit transform method will convert it into 0, 1, 0, 1.
Utkarsh, Prakash here. So suppose that as we discussed, right, some 3-4 categories available. So the time it will be like 0, 1.
So can anybody answer that if there are more than 2 categories available, what will happen?
0,
One
0,
hot
0,
encoding.
Yes. Right. So again, I'm going back to the code. So next.
Because what was the answer for it?
One hot encoding, right?
Encoding.
Yes, we have discussed right now. Yes, Abhilash.
No, I missed and pressed it here. Continue.
Okay, so now split the data into training and testing. So now train underscore test underscore split is a function. So now here you have to tell explicitly that what is X and what is Y. So I am passing here features and I'm passing the corresponding Y. Now I am saying test size is equal to 0.2. So that is what I'm saying, that is split the data into training and testing, where testing size should be 20% of the whole data set and training size should be 80%. If you will write here 0.3, then testing size will be 30% and your training size will be 70%. Now this train test split will generate 4 outputs: X train, X test, Y train and Y test.
Here X is only deposit column you are taking.
Huh? Deposit column? Yes. Deposit column, not deposit, default column is the target variable. So now X train, Y train, X test and Y test. So now what will be happening into X train? X train will be containing all these values: gender column, age column, and your what we call it as loan column, transaction column, all your features X1, X2, X3 and all that. This will be containing your corresponding 0 ones. So these are the customers available: customer 1, customer 2, customer 3, customer 4, customer 5, and features and corresponding target variable. So X train will be having features and Y train will be having target. Now similarly into X test and Y test, features for each customer and target variable 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. Now you will do your model training onto this data. So this is called as training data. Okay, and the size of this training data will be 70% or 80% in this case. Okay, training data. And this is what is another name I can say for this kind of data set? Profiling. And this is the testing data. Testing data, what is the size? 20%. And what can I say this testing data also? Prediction. Because here you will do the testing. So this is your unseen data. So you will test the accuracy on unseen data as well as training data. Why we want to test the accuracy on training and unseen data both? Training and testing both?
To compare the bias and variance. Like
what bias or variance?
To see how our model performs on unseen data.
So I can directly do the testing on the unseen data. Why? What is the need of doing the testing on training data?
So that it predicts rightly.
So anyways, training data
Cross-validation.
Every time.
Correct. Yeah, Abhilash, can you explain more what cross-validation? That is a correct answer.
So we need the accuracy for both testing and training data, right? To get the accuracy for training data, we have to do the cross-validation.
Yes. So basically, training data and testing data accuracy needs to be calculated both, so you can identify if the samples are biased or not, or should I need to do cross-validation or not, right? So I taught you everything, guys. Okay, you guys are forgetting. Okay, but no problem. So Abhilash is right. For cross-validation purpose, we need to identify both type of accuracies. Now decision tree model. Now simply you have to call decision tree, and I'm not giving any parameter passing any parameter here, only max depth I'm passing. Max depth is equal to 2, only this one parameter, and then I'm fitting my model with X train and Y train. X train and Y train is my training data. Now in this particular syntax, my model will be getting trained with this parameter max depth is equal to 2. Now after generating this model underscore DT2, I will calculate the score. So score is the function which will give you the accuracy directly. So I told you that there is two function, confusion matrix and score. So score function, you will pass again your X train and Y train data model, and it will generate a training score as 71%. Now what you will do, you will pass the testing data, X test and Y test. This is the unseen data for your model underscore DT underscore 2, and you will print the score, then score will be coming 70%. So now training and testing score is almost equal. So that means cross validation is not required. Okay, that is why you have to do both these things. And my samples are probably not biased. But what can happen, because you have only taken max depth is equal to 2, so probably your whole analysis decision tree building itself is wrong. Let's do one more experiment. I have increased max depth to 4. Now when max depth is equal to 4, my accuracy got increased to 79 and 77%. Do I need to have cross validation?
No.
No.
Still, I will not go with the cross validation, almost similar. But are you seeing now difference when I'm doing this hit and try with max depth? My accuracy is increasing. Now one more hit and try, I'm doing max depth is equal to 8, criteria is equal to Gini. If you will not write this particular parameter, like here, if you are not writing criteria, by default, it will be Gini. So by default, it will create a CART algorithm. Now, if you want to calculate you want to create C4.5 algorithm, right here entropy. So instead of Gini calculation, it will do the entropy calculation. So it will become a C4.5 tree. Same things, concepts will remain same. Now for max depth is equal to 8, my accuracy is increasing 85, 81%. Should I need to have a cross validation?
No.
Still it is okay. Still I'm okay. It's not very far away. So because right now you are only doing hit and try with one parameter. You have to try with min sample, max leaf, and all those parameters also, which is your assignment. Okay. Now this is a tree I'm creating with the criteria is equal to entropy. This is a decision tree for your C4.5. So just for your example, we doesn't use SCHADE and C4.5 into industry. CART is the heavily used advanced algorithm. So, but for showing purpose, I have included. So now, what is your job here is, so I have shown you one example, how I'm doing hit and try. Now, what is your assignment for this week? You know, max depth parameter, min leaf, max leaf parameter, and there was one more parameter, criteria is equal to Gini. Now you have to hit and try with different numbers, different values of depth values, and you have to come up with the model with the highest accuracy. This is your assignment. You can use this as a reference code, skeletal code. I will share it today, and you have to do this research and come up with the best model with the most optimal parameters. So this is the method. And in tomorrow's class, I will explain you one automated process where you have to just run a one-liner syntax and all these optimal parameters will come in one shot to you. But before that, I want you to understand how to do it manually. So this manual thing you have to do. Now, performance matrix.
One question here. So what does this random state define?
So random state is basically, it's a parameter. If you will not write it, then it is also fine. It is basically when your decision tree is getting created. So internally also it do the random sampling for the training data itself when it is calculating Gini gain. So basically we are giving some random number, random state is equal to 1, 343, 444, 666, some seed we are giving for randomly selecting those rows. So either you can give it, either you can avoid it, doesn't matter. It's not
because I have a question, sorry. So for the train test split, it will shuffle the data set, whole data set, and split in train, and the decision tree will further reshuffle the training data set?
Yes, if you want to do that, you can do that.
Okay.
In random state. Otherwise, if you will not do, then also it is fine. This parameter has been given because previously we were not having this library available. If you will talk about 4 or 5 years before, this train test split library has been developed very recently. So people used to do this particular kind of random sampling here itself. So now this parameter got redundant because you have to have used this train test split always, because this is the most superior one, random sampling method. So I have just added just for showing you purpose. Now performance metrics. So performance metrics are what? Area under the curve, your basically area under the curve, false positive rate, true positive rate. These all things are our performance matrices. So performance matrices, you don't have to worry again. Everything is inbuilt. So ROC underscore curve, you have to pass Y test and Y predict. So basically, if I want to predict, I want to calculate the TPR rate, for example, TPR rate. So what kind of data I need?
One.
Okay, so 1. So what data I need? What columns you need?
Target column.
Target what you need? Actual value and predicted value, right?
Yes.
Correct. So here I am doing nothing. I am passing the actual value. So y under test and predicted value. So this predicted value, what is happening here into this particular function. So predict function will predict the value for the test set. So predict function will give you the predicted values, and this x test, y test will be having actual value of your unseen data set of the target variable. Now y test value and this predicted value from the model will be compared against within this ROC underscore curve, and finally it will generate these two values, FPR and TPR. So you will get FPR values and TPR values. After that, what will happen? You have to calculate area under the curve. So what you have to pass in area under the curve? FPR and TPR, because area under the curve we plot between FPR and APR. Now when you will plot FPR and APR, so this is again I'm doing just model accuracy. Okay, score function I have shown you for this particular model. This particular model, this is the accuracy 82%. Now you can use any model, whichever model you want to use, model DT underscore A, DT underscore 4 for different performance matrix generation. I am using model underscore DT as of now. You can use your own models when you will do hit and try. So now what will happen? Recall values. So recall values are the results which are actually equal to 1. Okay, so that recall result, it is coming 82%. So this is a manual function I have created where I'm going into the data frame and I'm calculating, but you can directly plot an area under the curve where you can pass FPR and TPR values, which you have calculated here. Okay, this is the most important thing, and you can directly plot the area under the curve. There is a library and it will show you curve and area under the curve value as well, 0.88%. Okay, so this 0.88% is coming from here, ROC underscore AUC underscore DT. So this ROC AUC underscore DT value you have calculated numerically in this particular function. So these two lines I am taking and I'm plotting my area under the curve, which is 88%. So my model having the accuracy of almost around 82%, area under the curve is 88%. So that means 88% of the time my model is able to segregate 1 as 1 correctly. So that is what my decision tree is. This model is perfect model. Now your target here, okay, before this, confusion matrix. So simply there is a function of confusion matrix when you will pass here y test and predictions. So basically y test are actual value, predictions are basically predicted values. So predictions are coming again from this model.tt. Predict function will give you the prediction for x test. So for prediction you have to pass x test. X underscore test is basically your features into unseen data, and you will compare against what? Y underscore test, right? So now when you will compare y underscore test and predictions, accuracy score is coming 82%, and this is the confusion matrix. 0 predicted as 0, 978. 1 has been predicted as 1, 863. Now this is a cluttered looking confusion matrix. If you want to plot a confusion matrix in a fancier way, so I have written a code. So this will give you a fancy confusion matrix for your understanding. So you can plot like this. In every algorithm, I will give you a different kind of plot for a confusion matrix. Whichever kind of plot or visualization you like, you can use it into the future as your own matrix. So this is all about your decision tree explanation. This is how we create the decision tree algorithm and check the performance and accuracy of the model. Now, for you guys, assignment is you have to increase the accuracy of this particular model by doing different hit and try. Whatever discussion in theory we have done, you have to do lot of things. So now what is happening here, if you will see, I have taken this variable p outcome. So p outcome variable, if you will see, all the values are unknown in this particular column. So probably you can see that if it is a 0 variance, then you have to remove this column, do the EDA, remove the outliers, fill the null values, and remove whichever variables you feel are not important, and create a different model and try to see if you can increase the accuracy up to 90 to 95%. This is your assignment. Questions?
Yes, I have doubt in 65th line.
65th line.
Yeah. So we are dropping the deposit, which is our target column,
right,
or target
right,
variable. Yeah?
Right.
But while calculating the training score, we need that
yes,
target variable, right?
So we are passing here x train, y train. X train is your features, y train are your target.
Utkarsh, can you get the data? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but X-train is based on our X, right? We have already dropped that deposit target.
So you have dropped that X target, but what is stored in this Y?
Okay, in Y we have both. Okay, got it.
Y only contains one variable, deposit.
Yeah, it is split into testing and training.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, Utkarsh, I have a question. So is it a deposit or default? The Y, the target variable.
I think it is deposit. Deposit is the target variable.
Okay,
I
can we
told
get
default.
a default, right? And can we get a data dictionary for all the columns? Like
data dictionary means?
Like what all the column represents, like like P, what is P outcome and what is
so for P outcomes and all that details I will share with you. What each all the variables are self-explanatory, so that is why I have not added. But for any particular thing you want to take, I will share with you P outcome.
And we can also apply a different feature selection technique, right?
Yes. So I think P outcome, even I forgot what was P outcome, because this has to be dropped because it is a zero variance. It is anyways not an important column. So I have not added, but yes, this is a fair ask. You can always ask for data type and understanding of data to the customer, not to me. So this is a fair ask. They should explain you as much as you want to know about data. So as a data scientist, as better you will be knowing your data, better you will be able to create the models. Okay. So now you are free to use techniques like zero variance, correlation check, and your null value check, other techniques. Do some EDA and do some hit and try with different parameters and create a model with good accuracy. Outlier analysis and all, you can do that. So this is the assignment now for you.
Okay, thank you.
Questions? Daniel?
Nothing. I just have to go through it again.
Utkarsh, sorry, question again on line 67.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, here we fit the model with the features for training and on target. So we didn't predict the score, like we didn't use the predict method. So does it
here what no. So what happens is score function internally will do the prediction. So score output of score function is directly the accuracy, number of accuracy. So this 70%, 71%. If you want to actually see, like if you want to see what is the outcome for customer 1 or what is the output for customer 2, then you have to use this predict function. Now this predict function, sorry, not this is predict probability function, this function predict. Now this function, when you will print this particular thing, print prediction. So what will happen? You will get a column. You will get hundreds of rows giving you 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. Okay. So, okay. So this also you do for me. You generate a data frame. So finally what you do, you have to generate a data frame, one CSV file for me. In this CSV file, what you have to do, you should be having these things. This is a very simple assignment, but tricky. So this will improve your coding thing. So in this CSV, what I want to see, your features, X1, X2, X3, X4, X5, and then your target variable. Okay. And then I want to see predicted result.
Okay. Only predicted column, not the actual one.
The target is actual.
Oh, sorry. Actual.
Right. Okay. So target is your actual. So now I want to do this only for X test dataset, X test and Y test. So X test will contain all these things, Y test will contain this, and you will be adding one more column predicted. I have already solved this for you here only in the paint itself. You have to just put it into the sheet. Can you get X test dataset?
Yes.
You already have. Y test you already have. Predicted also I have shown you where it is. Now what is happening here? If I'll ask, okay, I want to know what is the prediction for Daniel. So you will just give me this CSV. In CSV, I will see prediction for Daniel is 1, but what is actual value? Actual value is also 1. So that sort of data set I want to see. So for you, it will be more easier to understand how algorithms generates the output. Score function just generate the accuracy finally. Confusion matrix will give you the matrix form. Both are same thing, score function and matrix. One is a matrix format, one is the calculated accuracy.
Okay, so I have another question. Like in terms of accuracy, which metric you want us to use? Like if I get for confusion matrix, I have 90%.
Accuracy. Okay, you ask the question. Okay.
Sorry. So if I have a confusion matrix score is like higher than the accuracy, the true score itself. So
See,
which one should I pick?
No, score and accuracy will be always equal.
Okay.
So basically, this score is nothing but it is the calculation of this confusion matrix only. 978 plus 863 divided by 978 plus 183 plus 209 plus 863 into 100 will give you this number only, 85. Or whatever model we have calculated this accuracy. So confusion matrix and score function are same thing as your box plot and 5-number summaries are. So box plot is a representation, 5-number summary is a numerical representation. Both are the same thing. Score is a number, confusion matrix is just give you the same thing in the more segregable format.
Okay. Thank you.
This is a question, interview question, confusion matrix. What is confusion matrix? So it is easy, but many people doesn't know what is confusion matrix. So don't be confused with the confusion matrix and properly remember this confusion matrix, this thing you have to remember. When they are asking confusion matrix, you cannot say directly that it is just accuracy calculation. You have to explain one is predicted as 1, 0 is predicted as 1, and you have to draw this diagram. True positive, false negative. Sometimes what they do to confuse you, they will just directly ask, can you tell me what is the difference between true positive and false negative? And then you will confuse at that time. I always get confused in that particular question whenever they suddenly ask somebody, okay, what is true positive and what is false negative? So now what happens? It is a confusing. Correct? If without showing the diagram, if I'll ask you what is false positive and what is false negative, you will not be able to tell me. So this you have to properly memorize before you will go into the interview. Similarly, one more thing is mutually exclusive events and collectively exhaustive events. They will suddenly ask you what is the difference between type 1 error and type 2 error? What is the difference between type 1 and type 2 error? Anybody?
Like for type 1 error where the hypothesis is true, but we have predicted it as false.
Okay, perfect. And type 2 then vice versa. So basically, see, this is how it should be on your tips, these few things, because what will happen, these are the questions they will definitely ask you. What is type 1, type 2 error? What is confusion matrix? What is false negative? Or what is mutually exclusive? These will be confirmed short questions. So it should be on your tips. When we are rejecting a null hypothesis, but it is true, type 1 error. When we are accepting the null hypothesis, but it is false, alternative type 2 error. So this should be on tips. Either you don't understand the meaning, few definitions should be on your tips. Okay, so